Hello, my name is Pastor Kris Kollar. I'm the pastor of Pleasant Valley Lutheran Church near Malabar Farm State Park and St. Paul Lutheran Church in Lucas, Ohio. Greetings. We're reading through the Bible with commentary. We are in the book of 2 Chronicles, which started out with 9 chapters of names. And now we're into more of the stories, but it's still, Chronicles isn't necessarily the easiest book there is to read. And today there is a lot of political intrigue, which I will try to keep straight for myself and help you to follow, because it's a little bit complicated. And this being Chronicles, they're more concerned with the southern kingdom and proper worship of God, and they don't include necessarily all of the details about the political intrigue, but we did read about it in the book of Kings when we were reading through that. And Kings, Samuel, and Chronicles originally, each was written as one book and then divided into 2 scrolls when they translated from Hebrew to Greek. So we're in 2 Chronicles chapter 21. We're starting with a King Jehoram, and Jehoram is one of the ones that is confusing because Jehoram is often abbreviated Joram, and if I get this correctly, his cousin was also named Joram. And as we were reading in our previous session about King Jehoshaphat, who was a good king, and Chronicles is all about who was good and who was not good, they're pretty hard on Jehoram. So King Jehoshaphat did well, but then his son is the one who is now taking over from him. Chapter 21. Jehoshaphat slept with his ancestors and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. His son Jehoram succeeded him. He had brothers, the sons of Jehoshaphat: Azariah, Jehiel, Zechariah, Azariah, Michael, and Shephatiah. All these were the sons of King Jehoshaphat of Judah. Their father gave them many gifts of silver, gold, and valuable possessions, together with fortified cities in Judah. But he gave the kingdom to Jehoram because he was the firstborn. When Jehoram had ascended the throne of his father and was established, he put all of his brothers to the sword. So he's starting out his reign by killing all of the people who could conceivably say, well, maybe I should be king because I'm also the son of Jehoshaphat. He is the oldest, he is the king, but he has now killed all of his brothers and also some of the officials of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, as the house of Ahab had done, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife. So in the northern kingdom there was King Othniel, who had King Ahab as his son, who married Jezebel, famously evil, fought a lot with Elijah. We're going to actually hear from Elijah a little bit here. Their daughter, Athaliah, is now married to Jehoram. So there's an alliance. And when we were reading in our previous session, Jehoshaphat had done really well, but the chronicler was pretty hard on how Jehoshaphat had made an alliance and had worked with the northern kingdom. In fact, he'd worked with them so much that their daughter married his son, and then his son killed off all the brothers. So where am I? Verse 6. He walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as the house of Ahab had done, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. Yet the Lord would not destroy the house of David because of the covenant that he had made with David, and since he had promised to give a lamp to him and to his descendants forever. So he's doing very badly, but God does not want to wipe him out because he did promise David that there would be somebody on the throne. Verse 8. In his days Edom revolted against the rule of Judah and set up a king of their own. So whenever there's wars back and forth, the southern kingdom had taken over the country of Edom, was basically running Edom, and they decided, no, we're going to be back to being our own independent self again. Verse 9, Then Jehoram crossed over with his commanders and all his chariots. He set out by night and attacked the Edomites, who had surrounded him and his chariot commanders. So Edom has been in revolt against the rule of Judah to this day. At that time Libnah also revolted against his rule, because he had forsaken the Lord, the God of his ancestors. Verse 11, Moreover, he made high places in the hill country of Judah, and led the inhabitants of Jerusalem into unfaithfulness, and made Judah go astray. A letter came to him from the prophet Elijah, saying, Thus says the Lord, the God of your father David, because you have not walked in the ways of your father Jehoshaphat, or in the ways of King Asa of Judah, but have walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, and have led Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem into unfaithfulness, as the house of Ahab has led Israel into unfaithfulness, and because you also have killed your brothers, members of your father's house, who were better than yourself, see, the Lord will bring a great plague on your people, your children, your wives, and all your possessions, and you yourself will have a severe sickness with the disease of your bowels, until your bowels come out day after day because of the disease. Verse 16, the Lord aroused against Jehoram the anger of the Philistines and of the Arabs who are near the Ethiopians. They came up against Judah, invaded it, and carried away all the possessions they found that belonged to the king's house, along with his sons and his wives, so that no son was left to him except Jehoahaz, his youngest son. I'm looking to see if we have a footnote. We do not have a footnote or a comment about what kind of disease. Well, a terrible one, because it affected his bowels. Verse 18, after all this, the Lord struck him in his bowels with an incurable disease. In the course of time, at the end of 2 years, his bowels came out because of the disease, and he died in great agony. His people made no fire in his honor, like the fires made for his ancestors. He was 32 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He departed with no one's regret. They buried him in the city of David, but not in the tombs of the kings. So this Jehoram, and there's 2 of them, really just, the people that wrote Chronicles, person or people, really just condemned Jehoram for following the kingdom of the north, for killing his brothers, for generally just, they've been going so well under Jehoshaphat, and now they've completely made a U-turn. And he is condemned not only by the writers of Chronicles, but also by his own people who did not bury him with his ancestors and did not make a fire for him. Chapter 22. The inhabitants of Jerusalem made his youngest son, Ahaziah, king as his successor, for the troops who came with the Arabs to the camp had killed all the older sons. So Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, reigned as king in Judah. Ahaziah was, now I do have a footnote because here it says 42 years old, but if he was 32 and reigned 8 years, his father was 40 years old, how could his son be 42? So other sources say 22, and another source says that he was 20. The Septuagint translated it as 20. So either way, Ahaziah was probably pretty young. He reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, a granddaughter of Omri. So as I said, Jehoram was married to Athaliah, whose parents were Ahab and Jezebel, whose grandfather was King Othniel, very powerful king in the north. Othniel, Ahab and Jezebel. Athaliah is married to Jehoram. Yes, I'm like, do I have this right? No wonder Jehoram goes so far off if his mother-in-law is Jezebel and his wife is Athaliah. Then their son, Ahaziah, is very young, so Athaliah is doing a lot of the work of the kingdom. His mother's name was Athaliah, a granddaughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor in doing wickedly. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, as the house of Ahab had done. For after the death of his father, they were his counselors, to his ruin. He even followed their advice and went with Jehoram, son of King Ahab, so the other King Jehoram. So if his mother is the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, this would be his uncle. Jehoram is married to the daughter, so his brother-in-law was Jehoram. Jehoram and Jehoram, very confusing. So, but he followed his uncle, Jehoram, son of King Ahab of Israel, to make war against King Hazael of Aram at Ramoth Gilead. The Arameans wounded Joram, and he returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds that he had received at Ramah when he fought King Hazael of Aram. And Ahaziah, son of King Jehoram of Judah, went down to see Joram of Ahab, son of Ahab, in Jezreel because he was sick. And we did read some of this when we went through the book of Kings. Verse 7, but it was ordained by God that the downfall of Ahaziah should come about through his going to visit Joram, that would be his uncle. For when he came there, he went out with Jehoram to meet Jehu, son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. When Jehu was executing judgment on the house of Ahab, he met the officials of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's brothers who attended Ahaziah, and he killed them. He searched for Ahaziah, who was captured while hiding in Samaria, and was brought to Jehu, who put him to death. They buried him, for they said, he is the grandson of Jehoshaphat, and who sought the Lord with all his heart. And the house of Ahaziah had no one able to rule the kingdom. So the southern kingdom is married to the northern kingdom. Athaliah is the mother of the King Ahaziah, and her brother Jehoram is the king in the north, so his uncle. He goes to visit. Well, meanwhile, Jehu, who we read about in Kings, is like, okay, time for the house of Ahab to be completely wiped out. So he cleans house. He literally kills all of them. And while he's at it, he also kills Ahaziah and his brothers. Athaliah, and then he's very young, at whatever age, possibly 22, 23, does not have children that can take over the kingdom. Now, verse 10, when Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, saw that her son was dead, she set about to destroy all the royal family of the house of Judah. So what there were, she sets out to kill. Verse 11, but Jehoshabeath, the king's daughter, took Joash, son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's children who were about to be killed. So let's see this. Jehoshabeath, king's daughter. So Ahaziah's, maybe it's his daughter. He's taking the son. So either this is the mother of Joash, or this could be the aunt or the sister of Joash, a relative of Joash, took Joash, son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from the king's children who were about to be killed. She put him and his nurse in a bedroom. Thus Jehoshabeath, daughter of King Jehoram, and wife of the priest Jehoiada, because she was a sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah, so that she did not kill him. He remained with them 6 years, hidden in the house of God, while Athaliah ruled over the land. So let's see if I can track this. So Jehoshabeath is the daughter of King Jehoram. So she is the sister to Ahaziah that just got killed by Jehu. So she is the aunt of Joash, who was the son of Ahaziah. And now what would be her relation to, I should probably draw this all out in a family tree. So Jehoram's wife was Athaliah. So that would be her mom. Either her mom or her aunt was Jehoshabeath's daughter of King Jehoram. So that probably Athaliah was her mom, or possibly her stepmom, depending on how many wives King Jehoram had. But the key thing is she is married to the priest Jehoiada, and all the way through the Old Testament we read about this kind of power, I don't want to say struggle, balance, this working together of the king and the priest. And they were not usually the same person. There was the king and there were the priests, completely separate from one another. But the priests had a lot of power over and with the king. The king could not rule if he didn't have the support of the priests. And so the priests did a lot of political power. And in this particular case, Jehoiada, the husband of the woman who steals away the baby, which is either her son or her nephew, they hide the baby. They hide Joash, who's maybe a year or two at the time. Because she was a sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah, so that she hid him from her own mother. so that she did not kill him. He remained with them 6 years, hidden in the house of God, while Athaliah reigned over the land, the only queen that ruled over the house of Judah. Chapter 23. But in the 7th year Jehoiada took courage and entered into a compact with the commanders of the hundreds, Azariah son of Jehoram, Ishmael son of Jehohanan, Azariah son of Obed, Maaseiah son of Adaiah, and Elishaphat son of Zichri. They went around through Judah and gathered the Levites from all the towns of Judah and the heads of families of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. Then the whole assembly made a covenant with the king and the house of God. Jehoiada said to them, "Here is the king's son. Let him reign, as the Lord promised concerning the sons of David. This is what you are to do. 1/3 of you priests and Levites who come on duty on the Sabbath shall be gatekeepers. 1/3 shall be at the king's house, and 1/3 at the gate of the foundation. And all the people shall be in the courts of the house of the Lord. Do not let anyone enter the house of the Lord, except the priests and ministering Levites. They may enter, for they are holy, but all the other people shall observe the instruction of the Lord. The Levites shall surround the king, each with his weapons in his hand, and whoever enters the house shall be killed. Stay with the king in his comings and goings." Verse 8. The Levites and all Judah did according to all that the priest Jehoiada had commanded. Each brought his men who were to come on duty on the Sabbath, with those who were to go off duty on the Sabbath, for the priest Jehoiada did not dismiss the divisions. The priest Jehoiada delivered to the captains the spears and the large and small shields that had been King David's, and which were in the house of God. And he set all the people as a guard for the king, everyone with a weapon in hand, from south side of the house to the north side of the house, around the altar and the house. Then he brought out the king's son, put the crown on him, and gave him the covenant. And they proclaimed him king, and Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and they shouted, "Long live the king." So they put in his hand the covenant. They gave him probably Deuteronomy and Leviticus, the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, the agreement that this is what God expects us to do. This is how a king is supposed to act. Verse 12, when Athaliah, that would be Joash's grandmother, who had killed all of the rest of his relatives, when Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she went into the house of the Lord to the people. And when she looked, there was the king standing by his pillar at the entrance, and the captains and the trumpeters beside the king, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets, and the singers with their musical instruments, leading the celebration. Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, "Treason! Treason!" She's the one that was killing off her own children. Then the priest Jehoiada brought out the captains who were set over the army, saying to them, "Bring her out between the ranks. Anyone who follows her is to be put to the sword." For the priest said, "Do not put her to death in the house of the Lord." So they laid hands on her. She went into the entrance of the horse gate by the king's house, and there they put her to death. Verse 16. Jehoiada made a covenant between himself and all the people and the king, that they should be the Lord's people. Then all the people went to the house of Baal, tore it down, his altars and his images they broke in pieces, and they killed Mattan, the priest of Baal, in front of the altars. Jehoiada assigned the care of the house of the Lord to the Levitical priests whom David had organized to be in charge of the house of the Lord, to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, according to the order of David. So Jehoiada is returning everything to how it's supposed to be, according to how David had said it should be done. Verse 19, he stationed the gatekeepers at the gates of the house of the Lord, so that no one should enter who was in any way unclean. He took the captain, the nobles, the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and they brought the king down from the house of the Lord, marching through the upper gate to the king's house. They set the king on the royal throne. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after Athaliah had been killed with the sword. So lots of political intrigue, A little shorter than what we read in Kings, but basically the same thing. That the northern kingdom, Omri, Ahab, Athaliah. Athaliah married to Jehoshaphat's son Jehoram. Their son Ahaziah gets killed, and Athaliah, the mother, queen mother, says, okay, and kill all the rest of them while you're at it. Joash is saved by his mother or aunt. It's not clear. Probably aunt, I would guess. And she's a sister of the king. Saves Joash, hides him away, and then the priest brings him in, gets him anointed, and puts him in charge. Application. Lots of political intrigue. Probably, well, for starters, don't kill your brothers. Don't kill your children. And if you are in a position that is not truly your own position, do not try to take over and try to take more than you should. God does do work. God is faithful. And we're not to the end of the story yet. But Jehoshaphat, great. Jehoram, horrible. Ahaziah wasn't great and was gone very quickly. Now son Joash. And Joash is kind of a mixed bag. We'll read about him in the next session. Mostly he's on track when he's following Jehoiada the priest, but later on he will not do as well. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look at you with favor and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Go in peace. Like, subscribe, comment. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.